Time is ticking. Down to the next election, down to Brexit, and, if Labour gets its way, down to the end of the 5-day week. The standout policy from Shadow Chancellor John McDonnell today, a target to get the average working week down to 32 hours.
The next Labour government will reduce the average full-time working week to 32 hours within the next decade.
In case you're wondering, it's an aspiration, not a cap. The government won't prevent you working longer. In fact, they think working less is actually in business's own interests. If that sounds improbable, listen to someone who's actually trialled a 4-day week, like recruitment boss David Stone.
How much of your workday is spent actually working versus scrolling and chit-chat and talking about football and Love Island and lunch? But if you can focus on getting the task in hand on the productivity metrics, it is perfectly possible to do 5 days' worth of work in 4, and that's what we've been finding here.
Indeed, up until about a century ago, there was no such thing as the weekend. Then again, for business groups, the real worry is that these rules might make firms less profitable.
The idea of fewer hours at the same pay is simply a radical increase in wage costs. And there will be many businesses thinking, how can they afford to do that? And so it has to be done in a way that raises productivity at the same time.
But whether it's reality or a kite-flying exercise, that 32-hour pledge is only one radical proposal from Labour, alongside higher taxes, rules forcing companies to give shares to workers, and even the abolition of private schools.
This is about giving people control over their lives. If you're not having to work every hour that God sends, your free time is yours. If you're owning the company you're working for, you can decide how you work when you're there, right? This is about giving people a sense of control and a sense of power and authority over what they're doing.
Put it all together and it may add up to an even more radical manifesto than Michael Foot's famous election-losing 1983 one. Now, traditionally, the main questions economists have had about Labour policy have been fiscal. How much does it cost? Does it add up? Stuff like that. But now that the Tory party have committed to spending billions, the whole thing has been rather turned on its head. So whether it's public schools, whether it's companies distributing shares to employees, or forcing landlords to sell properties to their tenants, there is a deeper question. Does Labour respect private property? So much depends on how this all goes down with the voters. Will they be comfortable with these kind of questions? Will they vote for a 32-hour week? As the countdown to the next election approaches, we won't have to wait long to find out. Ed Conway, Sky News.